In this episode of Dentside Depot, we're going to take this cab and we're going to mount it to this frame, and at the same time we're going to fix an all too common problem with Dentside Ford trucks, and that is a wearable item known as a body mount. We're going to replace these with a new product from Vintage Truck and 4x4, so stay tuned. I hope you enjoy the episode. So today, as we mount our body to our come and swap project, we ran into an all too common issue, and that is the body mounts are absolutely toasted out. Typically this occurs from rust, and any truck that's on the East Coast or really anywhere, these are going to be no good. You're going to have a horrible time getting them off the truck, and they're going to be all rusted out. Now every now and then you can get lucky and you'll get one that's in pretty good condition and maybe even reusable. This one's been replated. But most of the times you're going to be looking for a replacement set. Well, up until now there really wasn't any aftermarket support. A couple companies did have a somewhat factory style replacement, but Vintage Truck and 4x4 has come up with a new design to fix this issue for a very economical cost. All right, and that's what we're going to be installing today. So you're going to get 6 body mounts in the package, plus all of the hardware and everything that you need to install it. When you get these, they are going to be bare metal, and you can see they are beautifully TIG welded all the way around. I would recommend hitting them with spray paint rather than powder coating because they are an interference fit, and the powder coating will make the outside dimension and the inside dimension of the parts too big. They won't go together. So I spray painted these, primer and then some black spray paint, and then I cleaned it up so they would fit back in together. And you can see these are an interference fit just like this. They just go together. Okay, and that's all it is. You will need to order new polyurethane body mounts to go with this kit. So you can buy these off of Amazon or wherever you want to get them. The part number for the kit we're doing today is 6TAC105/BL. But when you're on Vintage Truck and 4x4's eBay page, you want to make sure that you're going with the part number that they provide for your particular kit, because there are differences. And just as a side note, crew cab trucks are usually very different from truck to truck, so you just want to confirm before you go ahead and make your order. Included in the kit is the hardware, as well as a couple extra bolts just in case you had longer bolts in the back of your truck, which I have run into issues with before. So what I did was I had the factory bolts that came out of my truck, and I just confirmed that the rear mount bolts were the right size for what I was going to be using, and that's really about it. So you have 6 bolts, the 2 rears, the two middles, and then you have the 2 fronts for the radiator support, and these ones are almost always bad. I don't think I've ever had one that is good in all the trucks I've taken apart. Okay, so how do we put these together? Well, it's pretty simple. You have your bottom piece here. This one slips on like that. Then you have your top piece. This one goes on like that. And then they just essentially sandwich together like so. And that is an interference fit, and they can only be compressed so far. And then obviously your bolt would go on like so. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be dropping our body onto our come and swap frame. It's been POR 15 underneath. It looks very nice. I did have to do a little bit of rust repair. I wouldn't say this is an A+ body. I'd call it probably a B body. I have heat shield here because that's where the exhaust is going to be. And our frame looks very, very nice, and everything is all together and ready to go. So we'll be installing our cab mounts here and our cab mounts here, and obviously that's a very important part of putting the body back on. The problem is if you use the old mounts, you will run into the issue where they compress too much because they were rubber and they're worn out. Your body will sit down too far, and for this particular project, that would be really bad because I need all of the clearance I can get to get this particular truck to fit. As you can see right here, it's been clearanced to allow for the transmission to connect. So I'm going to roll this chassis up and let's start dropping it down, get the body mounts set up where they need to go, and see how this sucker looks. This is a pretty exciting day that's been about 5 months in the making thus far. Okay, the first step is really not that complicated. We're not going to be installing the core support today, but essentially this part would mount just like this. bottom one underneath, top one underneath the core support, and it's sandwich in. Then we move on to our middle body mount. The only part you're putting in right now is this one right here. If you're confused on which ones go where, Prothane has the directions on which mounts are which, as well as the directions for Vintage Truck and 4x4 tells you where each of the metal parts of the mounts go. Then for the rear, right here, and if you were wondering, the super cabs and the regular cabs, the mounts are the same in most instances. If you have a question or if yours seems to be different, then just reach out through the eBay page. So now we're ready to drop this body down and see how it looks. See, we are now very close to making our final connection here. At this point, now that I know I'm close, what I want to do is drop the bolts in just to help me give a nice centered alignment before I do my final measurements on it. Okay, I spent a little bit of time getting everything measured. You want to make sure your cab is completely square, both front to back and side to side, before you start bolting your mounts down. So now we're going to put the bottom on, and our bolt is of course already in there. So it just slips in like so. I'm just going to get it started by hand if I can. It is a tight fit. Doing the alignment on the cab to the frame does take some time, because of course you push it one way, it goes too far. Push it back the other way, it goes too far, etc., etc. And that's it. So that body mount is done. Now I'm going to repeat that step 5 more times for the fronts and for the rears. And that's essentially it. I want to give a special thanks to Vintage Truck and 4x4 for sponsoring this video and providing these products. These products are going on my personal truck, so you know that I actually believe that they are good products. I would obviously not put a bad product on my truck, and this truck has essentially all the best products. So let's do a little review here of all the Vintage Truck and 4x4 parts. You have your front spring hangers available on the eBay page. Really nice product. It's the only company that makes them for the lowboy trucks. And then in the rear of our suspension, we also have the spring hanger kit, which is really nice, and that's built specifically for these trucks. So it's your one shop stop destination. And then the rear hanger bracket as well, which is also definitely much stronger than the factory part. These are available for high boys and low boys. I will put the links for everything down below. Before we close out, why don't I do this? Why don't I get the truck off the cradles here, and I'll push it back so you can see what it looks like down and out of the way of the lift. So then we'll wrap up here in a second. All right, I figured you guys waited long enough to see this truck put together. I know I certainly did. So I went ahead and threw the bed on it too. And I can tell you, we got something really, really special going on here with this truck. It is looking really, really cool. Really awesome. It's up there for sure. It's definitely a big lift. Things I'm gonna probably have to change on the suspension. Rear wheel may need to come back an inch. And I think probably a 2-inch lift block in the rear. I'll have to measure it. There's no blocks in it right now. It's just on the Super Duty springs. But wow, what a difference. That looks so great. This wouldn't have been possible without Vintage Truck and 4x4 providing their parts. So again, special thanks to them. And I will put the links below for all of their products that are on this truck. Definitely take a chance to check them out. I hope you enjoyed this episode and you're enjoying this build. As we finish the home stretch here, I'm hoping July 2024, this truck will be done and on the road. Remember to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next episode.